All right, we are back with another episode of Coffee with Craner. This is actually episode 85, so I mean we're itching on the 100th episode, and I'm so excited for that. But today we have a fantastic guest, somebody I know very well, Fiona Coughlin. She's the executive director and CEO of Habitat for Humanity Windsor-Essex. And for those watching who attended perhaps the Windsor-Essex Chamber Business Excellence Awards, Fiona actually won the Professional of the Year award for 2022. I mean, it's fantastic. It's celebrating her excellency and as a professional in affordable housing initiatives, social services, different things like that. So today's going to be a fantastic conversation all about Habitat for Humanity and Fiona's role. Fiona, thanks for joining me.
Oh, it's wonderful to be here. I'm so excited. When I heard coffee was involved, I'm like, I'm in for sure. Let's do it.
And, speaking of coffee, is there a favorite place you go to around where you work?
Around where I work, we just head down to Timmy's. It's right around the corner. We have a coffee pot in the lunchroom as well. Francis, who's been at Habitat forever, started as a volunteer and then staff. He is the chief coffee maker in the office, so we have some fantastic coffee in the office. But then sometimes we go for our mental health walk down to Tim Hortons. When I'm my favorite coffee place, I was just saying I'm at my mom's right now, so that's my favorite coffee place. So I visit my mom in Amherstburg, and that's my favorite place to have coffee, honestly.
Yeah, fresh home brewed coffee sounds like a win to me. But yeah, no, that's very cool. Especially it's cool that your organization has a CCO, a chief coffee officer.
Yeah, he does a lot more than that, but Francis is the coffee man. The warm coffee in the morning, that's on Francis for sure.
Fantastic. Now, I just want to talk about kind of your career and what really led you to this fantastic organization that I really enjoy volunteering for throughout the summer and sometimes in the winter when you're building. How did you start with Habitat for Humanity?
Well, my career has been in nonprofit for my entire career. Actually, what happened, I had a child when I was quite young, and a lot of people helped me through a number of different social services and organizations, including I was in rent geared to income housing, and I was able to finish my education. And as soon as I finished, what I decided is I want to give back. I want to do something that can change lives for people like me, who without all of those supports that I received, I would not have finished my education. So from day one, I chose nonprofit and chose to try and help families in need of housing. And so I've journeyed through, about 20 years of housing. And I was at the Downtown Mission, working at the Downtown Mission for a while. And we had been at the table discussing housing and noticed that there was a vacancy at Habitat for Humanity. And I was like, well, they need to be at the table. So sign me up. And I went out to, I basically fought for the position and said, I'm the person that you're looking for. And we've had a great journey over the past 5 years, really expanding what Habitat in Windsor-Essex has been doing. So that's been fantastic.
Yeah, no, it's an inspiring story, and it probably makes the job, I guess more relatable, and you're able to use those experiences that you had earlier on to, like, you understand the process, and then also what those families, I guess, are really looking for when seeking habitat services.
Yeah, I think that it gives me a unique perspective on the potential of the families that are just trying to get that little hand up, not looking for a handout, but a hand up to just get on their feet and get going, because there's so much potential for what they could deliver in the future. And so, like, I know you've been on builds with us, and when those single moms and young families get keys to their house, which they helped build side by side with community members like you, Lyndon, and your family. It just gives me goosebumps, because I see them not only succeed for themselves and really have a hand in their own success, but also build those really great relationships with community partners that care about their success. And they know that they see your family there, and they see you there at the dedications, and they go, people care about me. And so that whole model really means a lot to me. And I think, it just every time, every dedication gives me goosebumps. I'm just like, this is what I dreamed of doing. And I'm so happy that we can help one family at a time succeed.
Yes, no, it is really a good feeling, especially being on the build site and as a volunteer and prep, even meeting the family and things like that as they're helping out alongside you. It's a great feeling. And one house at a time. What could you say, I guess, for Habitat Windsor-Essex? How many homes have you built, in the last few years?
So since we opened, we've built 76 homes. And so for each of the, there's over 300 individuals that we would otherwise be housing insecure are now permanently housed in a Habitat home, which one of the things I really love about the Habitat model is that they're permanently housed through our model. They own that house once they've paid off the mortgage. And a lot of people don't realize that, but they actually do pay a geared to income mortgage for the house. And that money is then restricted for future families. So 76 families so far, over 300 individuals have found success through this. But in addition, in Windsor-Essex, and what people may not be aware of is each habitat's a little bit unique. It's not like McDonald's, where you go to McDonald's on the West Coast and your Big Mac is going to taste exactly the same as a Big Mac on the East Coast. Habitats, we have standards of excellence. We have certain benchmarks we have to achieve. But other than that, they are led and run by the local community to meet the needs of the local community. So in Windsor-Essex, we've really done some great work on partnership. We've partnered with Matthew House to help them restore an 11-unit building for newcomers to Canada. And now we're partnering with the Bridge Youth Resource Center to help them with their next project. And we're going to be responsible for 4 of the units that they're bringing in. So that's in addition to the 76 houses we've done so far. And we have 3 more in the works on Henry Ford Center Drive for this year and 5 more for next year in the West End. So we just keep going.
Yeah, you must have your hands full.
It's busy. But it's exciting and it's growing, and that's what we want to see. I think it's that momentum. So, we started when I came in, we were building 1 or 2 a year, and now we're really at that place where we're building that snowball. And we've done that by a lot of it's through partnering with other organizations and really looking creatively at how we can address the housing crisis.
And with partnerships, I understand that there's a very, very cool project, the first in Canada, if I'm not mistaken, with printing, 3D printing homes with the University of Windsor. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, and I have to say that without the University of Windsor, this project would not have happened. It wouldn't have come to Windsor. The University of Windsor has the largest structural testing lab in all of Canada. And so that is why this project really fit this community. Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation was seeking a way to test the 3D printing and to do the research. And there's really this belief that if you don't do the research, it just will never grow. It's not that, like a lot of people are like, that's never going to be cheaper. It's not cheaper yet, but it will be. It will be faster. And that's what we have to do the work. But that's not really Habitat for Humanity's main mission. Our mission is safe, decent, affordable housing for people that need affordable housing. So the universities, really, their mandate is to do this research. So it was just a brilliant partnership. Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation wanted to ensure that the houses were in an affordable housing model. So that's why Habitat was brought in as the partner. So it was really a partnership between the university and us. And what an amazing partnership for us. We've had the opportunity to work with some brilliant minds in the engineering department and young people that have also had a chance. It's funny, I was out on the build site and hearing that what they would have been doing for their last year of their doctorate would have been like teacher assistant type work. And instead they get to 3D print a house. And that's exciting for them. Not that there's anything wrong with being a teacher assistant, but this is fun and we get our hands dirty.
Yeah, it's very cool. And I imagine some other Habitat organizations are looking at Windsor-Essex Habitat for I don't know, one in awe, but also to, gain insight on this entire project. You must have the spotlight on you throughout all of Habitat Canada.
Yeah, it's not just habitat, but definitely there's a world of this 3D printing that people are really like trying to find out what's going on. So I have I have daily emails from people from all over the world just going, "What are you doing? And how are you doing?" And so it's really fun. What I will say is the most important part of this project, besides the houses, of course, my priority is to get some houses built. But the next thing is the research. So there's going to be a published like in scientific journals, published research papers on the concrete integrity and all of that, and the process, and a cost benefit analysis will be published by the University of Windsor, and that's going to be made available for housing providers across the country, across the world, really. And so that research ideally will be a blueprint for the next organization to do it faster, better, less expensive, and that's what's most important. What I will say is the houses that we're building through the 3D printed, because the current building code is not written for concrete in Canada. It's not written for these kind of structures. They're being engineered to the hilt. So these are going to be the most structurally sound houses you've ever seen. If you're looking for a place to go in an earthquake, these are the houses to go to. They're not going anywhere. But it's real. They're going to be pretty incredible, and it's just cool to be part of something as cutting edge as that. So
yeah, it's such a cool project, and the fact that there's this spin-off effect where other organizations can, access this information, and really it's helping on a global scale. From my understanding, is it's providing the ability to make housing more affordable, not just for Habitat, but for developers across the globe. So it's fantastic, and I guess something that I'm interested in hearing more about is how does this built? Like, I mean, like when you think of a printer, a 3D printer, when I was in high school, there are little tiny things and it makes like a Lego figure or something.
Yeah, well, when I was in high school, we didn't have 3D printers at all. So it's completely different. Yeah. Okay. So it's very similar in that concept. So the concept is that so our brilliant doctors of engineering have taken habitat plans that were done by Jen Bro, who does all our plans for all our houses as a volunteer, but they've taken that plan and converted it to a digital file that is fed to a computer system. And then there's like a almost like a printer head, but it's pouring concrete. And so it will follow the pattern that has been programmed into it. So the idea is if you have a number of houses to be built, it can just replicate the same pattern over and over again. And it sounds really simple, but it's not, because there's a number of different things, and it's really covering what would be the framing and the drywall and maybe the insulation, depending on your climate. So it's not going to be doing your kitchen cupboards. It's not going to be doing your roof at this point. There are some countries that are experimenting with having it do the roof kind of in a unique shape. But for right now, you're printing the walls. And so it's programmed in. And I think the most challenging part of it, they've really perfected the computer programming, and they have some really wonderful printers. Even from the time we started this project to the time we ended up with a much more powerful printer at the end. So great advancements in that. But the challenge is the concrete. And that's where, again, the University of Windsor really comes in, is because they have materials experts that are doing their theses on these on concrete. They're writing about concrete all day long. And so one of the things that was the most challenging is you have to get a concrete mix that pours at exactly the right consistency and hardens at the right speed, so that when the printer comes around for the second pass, it doesn't just smoosh. So then I could get really into it. There's 1K materials, 2K materials, when you add the hardener and all this kind of thing. But yeah, it's a really neat thing. And I want to get my honorary engineering degree just from doing this project.
Yeah, that's probably the coolest thing about your job is that you can, after this, if you want to be a developer or build your own house, like you have it in the bag. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've got a few things that I've learned that have very unique application for future.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's when I was volunteering. One of the coolest things that my girlfriend and I found was being able to learn these hands-on around the house skills, like painting, like learning how to put siding on the side of a house. So it's like it benefits both ways. One, you're helping families, with an affordable home, but you're also gaining these really cool skills that perhaps, if you're not hiring a contractor, you wouldn't have gained.
Yeah, and I have to admit I'm not the most skilled on the build site. So even when I go out to the build site, I get to learn a few things. I've now used a nail gun, but I should like I shared earlier, I lived in rent geared to income supportive housing in my younger days, and it happened to be a cooperative rent geared to income. And that's where I learned how to shingle a roof, was because I was in a housing co-op, and part of being in that housing co-op was you helped to maintain the buildings. And I also learned to sit on committees, and I was on the youth committee at the time, and we sold popsicles to raise money for a basketball net. So I think getting involved in the community just in general is something that can really snowball into great things. So it's kudos to you and your family and your girlfriend for getting involved, because I'm sure you're going to take those skills with you into your future.
Oh yeah, the family's probably going to be bugging me soon to put siding on their house after they watch this, but
Yeah, right.
comes with a price. It comes with a
Yeah,
price.
that's
No, very cool. And to jump into my next question, and what I'm most interested in is just on the topic of affordable housing. Habitat's providing this great work to the community. What else, as a leader in this area, what else do you think can really be done to make life more affordable and to ensure everyone has an affordable place to call home?
So there's a lot of organizations that are working together on this, and I think um, partnership is key. So partnering with the university and the bridge to develop these houses is wonderful. We're also we've started a repair program, and we're just starting a partnership with the community housing, Windsor-Essex Community Housing Corporation, where we hope to be able to repair and restore our units so that they can continue to provide housing in those units. But then also the wonderful thing is the funding that they would have for those repairs will be paid to our build fund, so we can actually build future houses. So there's lots of neat strategies that we have to kind of bring the assets that each organization has together to address the housing crisis. I think personally, I have a strong value for maintaining a space for home ownership. I think rental is very important, and there's a whole spectrum of need. Different people need different things at different times in their lives, but ownership is transformational for families, and it's a chance to build that generational wealth, which I think is really important. And there's just some groups that have never had access to that generational equity where things can get passed down in that way. So I think we need to maintain a space for that. But I don't think Habitat is the only solution to the housing crisis. It's part of a spectrum, and we have to work together collaboratively to address this, to make sure that people who need housing with supports have access to housing with supports, which is why we would like if you're thinking beyond just your organization and just your front door, it's what is the need in my community. So the partnership with Matthew House is really key for me, because people who are newcomers to Canada really need a place that's also going to guide them through the system and how to get set up and make sure that they've got an ability to get employed and things like that. There's a lot more support that's needed for people who are newcomers to Canada. You can't just say, here's keys to a house, pay your mortgage, see you later. It's a bit more. So that's why we really partnered with Matthew House and said, listen, you're the experts at that. We know how to fix houses. Why don't we help you? And we work together. And Mike Morency is a contractor himself, so it was a very collaborative. We helped to restore his units, and we've also partnered with a number of community groups on a furniture bank there had been a furniture bank at the Downtown Windsor Community Collaborative, but unfortunately they lost their space. So when I came in at Habitat, I'm like, well, the Restore picks up furniture every day, all day. Why don't we figure out a way to partner on this? So it's a very simple collaborative group. We just, they refer all their furniture donations to Habitat. We make sure it's picked up, cleaned, on the floor and available, and we give them access to that furniture for their clients. So why duplicate? Why have a furniture bank over here and the Restore over here competing for furniture? Or we could have one building with all the furniture, and people who need it can have it, and people who are willing to pay a little bit and help fund the build can pay. And so that's how we've kind of worked that up. I think every organization, there's probably people with creative ideas of ways that they could partner to address this. And I think that's really the key.
So it has to be this collaborative approach to really address this big, massive, all levels of government issue.
Yeah, I would say so. I think that's key. There's definitely levers that government can pull, and our city is working hard on that. It's all done through funding and legislation. So there's only so much you can do at a political level, and then there has to be a community behind it. And you know, government can do a certain amount, and then the community has to come in and join it.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, no, it's honest feedback that you gave me, and I think it's a huge issue that I'm facing, the next generation is going to face. And yeah, we got, like, you know, like what Habitat's doing is being creative and finding ways to, you know, to make it work.
Yeah, and I think as I know you're in the political realm right now, so you know there's ways that you can look at inclusionary zoning, or when you have land available, making sure that land is made available to nonprofits through your RFP process. Sometimes you can prioritize proposals for land use based on whether or not they're using a nonprofit. I definitely think mixed level of income in the community is really good, rather than having pockets of poverty and pockets of affluence. But you want to have as a mixed use community with mixed density and mixed income levels, so that people can support each other and be part of a whole group. These are things that if you're evaluating proposals in the future for land use, that I would recommend that you look at. I know that did you get a chance to the Center for Cities has some really great workshops on as well that I've been attending, and there's always something more you can learn. But infill development is really important to build that density in communities. So there's a lot of ways we can tackle this.
Yes. No, I mean, if
I see it as an optimistic thing. There's opportunity. We have to. There's a problem, but there's opportunity to solve it, and there's an appetite right now in the community to really address it. So let's get going. Let's not let it pass us by.
I love the optimism, and speaking of optimism, you know, my last question: where do you see Habitat Windsor-Essex in the next 5-10 years? Where do you want to take it?
So our strategic plan, we want to build 25 houses in the next 5 years, and that will have us hit our 100th house. So we've already finished one of them already. I think we can do more than that personally. I think I would shoot for 50, but the strategic plan says 25. So I'm going to try to blow it out of the water. We definitely have our eye on any kind of infill. We never want to gentrify neighborhoods. So we work with the neighborhoods that are already, the community groups are trying to work together. We would never buy a property that's already tenanted, but we are looking at those boarded up houses throughout the city of Windsor and in other areas. We've done boarded up houses in Leamington as well. So anything that's causing a negative in a neighborhood, if we can get our hands on it, that's what we want to replace. And that really elevates the whole street and helps everybody in the neighborhood. But those are very expensive and challenging to build because infill is harder. And that's often why we can get that land cheap or free. But we have got another goal, which is to look at multi-unit development. So whether that's a partnership with another organization or with another builder, we would like to do a larger, more mixed income multi-unit development that can meet the needs. And we would really focus on the accessibility focus in those units. But
Mm-hmm.
I could see either a townhouse development or a apartment building where some of the units are habitat units and you wouldn't even know which ones, and others are just everybody just lives there. And so you could work with a developer that is looking to build a high-end building and kind of partner up on that and really meet a need. So they'll be proposed. I can't say too much because I don't want to put all my cards on the table, but I have irons in the fire.
That's amazing. And I think just from this conversation, I just understand how passionate you are about the field that you're in. It sounds like you just absolutely love what you're doing. And I think you have such a unique and inspiring story because you've been, a part of this system, or, you've experienced what it's like to live on that type of housing, and what's best for the community. So I think, you should be speaking at council and at different types of levels of government to really show people, the great things about affordable housing and what more can be done to solve this intense issue. So Fiona, I want to really thank you for coming on, and I think it's a good educational moment for those watching to learn more about the great things Habitat's doing and really what more can be done to help with this affordable housing crisis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed the evening.
Thank you. And those watching, if you want to catch the episode after, just visit coffeewithcrainer.com. And the last thing, make sure you volunteer for Habitat for Humanity Windsor-Essex. It's an experience you don't want to miss. So Fiona, thanks for being here.
Thank you.